Who's scruffy looking?
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Talking with My Hans channel. We're taking a little bit of a break from the Star Wars Squadrons videos. Well, I can't really say that. We're not really taking a break for them because they're going to make an appearance in this video. But today's video, we're going back to the Talking with My Hans book review club to review a book I just finished. You already know what that book is if you follow me on Twitter. It's Star Wars Shadowfall, the Alphabet Squadron sequel, and boy, was it amazing. I cannot wait to dive into this book, but first, make sure you, of course, hit the subscribe if you love Star Wars book reviews. Make sure you like the video, make sure you ring the bell, you know, all that good YouTube stuff. But got a question about this one. Does it hold up to the first Alphabet Squadron novel by Alexander Freed? Because that one was just as good too. Guess you're gonna have to watch the...
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine.
What was that? I guess you're gonna have to watch this review to find out. Where do I even begin with this one? The last book we covered on the Talking with My Hans book review club was Queen's Peril by E.K. Johnson. That book was fairly straightforward and concise. It was very good, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the experience that Star Wars Shadowfall by Alexander Freed is. If you weren't already aware, Shadowfall is the sequel to Freed's novel from last year, Alphabet Squadron. In the aftermath of Pandem Nigh, Alphabet Squadron has to regroup and continue its hunt for the elusive and elite Imperial Shadow Wing. Alphabet leader Yrica Quell, Karen Adan, and General Harrison Dula, boy, I hope I got those two names right, devise a trap over the planet Trioth in the core worlds that could put a stop to Shadowwing for good. But Shadowwing has evolved, and Quell's old mentor, Soran Keyes, is now the leader of the elite TIE Squadron, and nothing goes as planned for the New Republic. Alexander Freed had a huge task following up the first installment in this series. I read Alphabet Squadron last year before I had the channel, and I can safely tell you that at times that book felt magical. Not since I read Lost Stars did a Star Wars book elicit the reactions I had reading that book. And with something that good, sometimes it's hard to follow up with an adequate sequel. One of the main things I definitely felt while reading this book was that Shadowwing and the 204th didn't feel as threatening as they did in the first book. In Alphabet Squadron, they were very mysterious and new, and I guess not knowing anything was one of the threatening parts of their existence. They were defeated pretty handedly in that first book, and most of their mystery has been stripped away, so in Shadowfall they felt just average, I guess? This really can't be faulted to Freed. This is just the nature of having a sequel. Also, let me say that Alexander Freed is a better writer than I can ever dream of being, but his writing is a very specific style. All of his books, Twilight Company, Alphabet Squadron, and now Shadowfall, are all military thrillers. There's a lot in these books that pertains to the New Republic intelligence and Navy and Army, and there's a lot on the Imperial Navy and Shadowwing. Part of the lore and atmosphere of these books is telling war stories, so you kind of get the point here. If military-esque stuff doesn't interest you and you'd rather read a love story or an adventure book, his stuff really isn't for you. However, as usual, the positives in this review completely outweigh the negatives. Where do I even start? I guess we should start with this. Alexander Freed writes some of the best dialogue in the Star Wars franchise. He takes the idea of all good dialogue requires conflict and gives you 400 pages of it. Every page, top to bottom, is conflict in this book. Whether it's the characters arguing with each other, fighting themselves, or the environment, there's always conflict in this book. Conflict keeps things interesting in entertainment, which is a big reason Star Wars is very interesting as a whole, and Freed really grasps the concept and doesn't let it slip away. Every character has a battle in this book, whether it's with themselves or with someone else, or both. They're all fighting a battle. Speaking of characters, I would venture to guess this cast is perhaps some of the best assembled in Star Wars books. Definitely in the current canon, the 5 main characters of Alphabet Squadron are the best in the novels. I said one of Freed's negatives was that he writes to a very specific niche genre, but his love for the characters and their own individual stories make his books as great as they are. Each character is so different from one another, but plays off each other so well, it almost feels like The Breakfast Club, but if they were all starfighter pilots. If I had reviewed Alphabet Squadron on this channel, I would have said the same thing in that review as well. I also said that this book was going to be a break from Star Wars Squadrons videos, but I straight up lied to you guys. Just a little bit though. Liar! Shadowfall has some big time connections to the upcoming EA game. I won't go into too many details, but just know that they are in there. I have to commend Alexander Freed because he managed to work them in and some pieces from his other work, Twilight Company, in ways that felt both natural and seamless. Every Star Wars book has ties to other media, but not all make it work. Black Spire by Delilah Dawson was one of those that didn't do it very well. The first 150 pages of that book felt like reading a brochure from Disney World about what to do in Batuu. It was so brutal that I almost stopped reading that book. Alexander Freed, however, works other pieces of media in very, very well. I think one of the most intriguing things this book does is shift tones over the course of the book. The beginning third or half of this book is pretty business as usual. Alphabet is in good spirits, Shadowwing is on the loose, they set a trap, and they lure Shadowwing out. When this book flips over into part 2, it goes completely off the rails. It weirdly reminded of Hacksaw Ridge for anyone who saw that. The first third of that movie is like a rom-com, and then all of a sudden people are getting their legs blown off. This book goes south, in a good way, in the second half, and really makes this book's last few chapters extra tense. Is this thing on? Is it working? Okay, so one of the things that I realized while I was making this video, while I was doing some cross-referencing, some different research, was that a lot of people were saying that this book was really good when it was at its worst. And I couldn't agree more. I didn't write it in the script, but the more that I think about it, the more that I think, wow, that's a perfect description. When the book gets really tough to read, when the character's making really tough decisions, that's when this book is really, really good. Over on Twitter, and just a little bit ago on this review, I said that the first Alphabet Squadron novel felt magical at times. The places they went, and the dialogue, and the interactions between the characters all felt like a movie. It's the same way I imagine people felt when they first saw Star Wars for the first time on the big screen. With that being said, Shadowwing was definitely The Empire Strikes Back to Alphabet Squadron's A New Hope. Shadowfall is intimate and dark and character-focused and absolutely subverts expectations, which are all things that great sequels do. So my final verdict for Star Wars Shadowfall by Alexander Freed, it's the best sequel novel in the Star Wars canon. With that being said, it's still a sequel novel, so make sure you read the first book before this one because it could be confusing. It places so much focus on the characters and their struggles and really makes you feel when they have their highs and lows. If you've read the first one, this is a must read and it definitely gets my seal of approval. What did you guys think of Shadowfall? Did you love it as much as I did, or did you wish you would have skipped it? Let me know down in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.